Hey everybody, welcome back to Mastering Avantra. Today's topic is the setting up of an automation that will run your Patch Tuesday security patching on a Linux machine. So it's a very simple scenario, shouldn't take us more than a couple of minutes, and I'm going to show it to you now. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm here with my Avantra master server, and we can see here I'm logging in, and I'll sign in here. And this is a very, very simple Avantra server. It has a couple of servers configured, including itself, and this is the one that's switched on now. And this is the machine I want to automatically patch every Patch Tuesday. So once Patch Tuesday comes around, you know, this is a development system, so I'm pretty happy with this thing, you know, on a schedule, installing its own security updates. So how would I go about doing that? So the first thing I'm going to do is go to configuration. And this automation section here now, if you don't see this, you need to make sure you're running Avantra version Pro. In this case, I'm running 20.11.6, but it's available in I think since 20.5 and above. So if you don't see it, just contact support. We'll be more than happy to help you out. And here's where we can define automation jobs. So for example, you can define your own job, you can do an SAP kernel upgrade, all that kind of fun stuff. So here we're going to define a very simple automation job, and we'll say dev system security updates, and I'm just going to put it in my customer. And here I'm now in the process of defining the flow of my automation. I mentioned it's very simple, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch off monitoring, just in case, you know, the patching causes some services to go down. I don't really mind, but I also don't want to be alerted, so I'm just going to set monitoring off for 30 minutes, cascade it, and say monthly patching cycle. I'm going to select the system this applies to. In this case, it's my master server. And on failure, you know what? I'll just continue. It doesn't matter if this step fails. So that's step one. Let's do step two. So this is the fun one. So this is kick off patching. And so my action here is going to be running an OS command. And a very simple script, so we'll do sudo yum yum update -y and security. So we want to install all the latest updates automatically that are security related. I don't mind the working directory, it doesn't matter. And the system I'm working on is the master server. So I set that there. And if this fails, you know what? I'm going to stop. I'm going to wait and just kind of let things go. I could say continue and just let it switch back on monitoring and log it as a failed automation job. But in this case, I'm going to say wait. And then our final job is going to be setting the monitoring back on. So switch on monitoring. So here we go down the bottom and there's set monitoring. Oh, not off. We want it on for this system, just like that. And on failure, we'll hit continue. So that's it. So that's the definition of the automation. It's very simple, and we'll say activate on a schedule. And if you like Patch Tuesdays, you're going to go for a recurrent schedule every month on the second Tuesday of every 1 month, just like that. Nice and easy. And so now, once we save and activate this, we now know that this job will be kicked off once a month on the second Tuesday of every month. Or we can execute it manually. Now I'm expecting this to fail, and I'll tell you why in a moment. So do you want to execute on the dev system? Yes, I do. Off it goes, and I'm going to get some nice error messages back to me here, because guess what? Sudo is not something that the Avantra service user is capable of doing. And that's a good thing. It means we've hardened our system correctly. It means that our Avantra service user is not overprivileged. However, there is a process you can follow to make this a lot easier on yourself, and I'm going to go through that now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to log into the underlying operating system itself, because obviously we're missing some privileges here. So I'm going to flip over to the machine, and you can see here now this is the host name, CTL. This is the MA master. It's running Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8.4. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to update my permissions, the permissions for the Avantra service user, to ensure that they're running the right, they're capable of doing this update. Now, if I do top, you'll see here that the user Avantra is the name of the user that runs my Avantra services. And so that is the user that's also trying to run this command, because that's what's running my agent. So I need to give them permission to only run this command. And this is where the overprivilege question comes into play, because what you don't want to do is just say, I'll give sudo access to the Avantra user. That's blanket. That's not the way you want to actually do it. There's a much more elegant way. So let's just quickly pop up to a root shell. And if I go into etc sudoers.d, so in this folder, now you'll see I have one in here already. This is where you can define ad hoc additional permissions for sudo. So for example, Google by default, because I'm running this machine in GCP, has a Google sudoers file, which meant that anybody who is a member of the Google sudoers group gets access to sudo. I'm going to create another one, which is touch Avantra sudo commands. So I'm going to edit this now. So Avantra sudo commands. And here is where I get to define that the user is allowed to run that command we just defined. So I'm dealing with the user Avantra in the host, all hosts, and I want them to act as root. I'm going to not ask them to specify a password because, hey, we're running an automation. We can't exactly specify a password. And the command I want to run is, and I give the full path here, bin yum update -y security. Like that. Actually, I think it's yum -y update. Maybe it doesn't matter, but let me just quickly make sure I have those consistent. So yum -y update. So perform a yum update without verification that you want to proceed. So that's what the -y is, and only install security updates. Once we've done that, we can actually test this if we want. So let's quickly log in as the Avantra user, and we'll run the command. So if we've done our job correctly, we should not be prompted for a password. So sudo yum -y update security. Works perfectly. It's actually executing, and I wasn't asked for a password, and I know this user doesn't have any privileges to do this. But notice if I change this slightly and I said, you know what? Let's say secure 40. And I try to do that. The minute it's a different command, different arguments, I get the standard sudo response with, hold on a second. We trust you've received the usual lecture from your system administrator. With great power comes great responsibility. So we can see immediately that we've allowed access to only that command and only with those arguments. So now that we've done that, let's pop back over here and we'll go back into our script. I just want to make sure this matches. Oh, it's yum -y update for security. Now let's go ahead and kick this off. Execute all, hit yes, is already running. Oh, okay, so we gotta finish the other one first. So let's see this, and we'll stop this job. So this is the job that failed earlier because we were missing those permissions. But once we're done with that, we can now come back in here and we can execute the job again, hit yes. And this time we should not see the same error. This should run beautifully. Now you may want to play a little bit more with some other aspects of this. Like for example, you want a fairly long timeout just in case there's lots of updates to install. But obviously I didn't need to do that here. And we can see here, if I go into the details, we get all the good information. So dependencies resolved, nothing to do, complete. The command executed successfully, and we switched back on monitoring. So what we've managed to do there is patch our system if there were patches available. This is the timeout I was referring to. You may want to make this a little bit longer. For example, some of these patches can take 5 minutes or even longer. So look, sets up something like that. So there we go. What we've done is we've set up an automation job that runs on the Patch Tuesday of every month on our development system, which kicks off an update. It has we gave the user the permissions to kick off the updates, and we switched on and off the monitoring to match. So that's just some of what you can do with Avantra when it comes to automation. I hope you enjoy, and please let us know if this was useful. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.